Okay, I'm Erin Somerville at McCallum High School, going over the Bill of Rights. So what you should do is title your notes Bill of Rights, and our question that we're trying to address today is what's the purpose of the Bill of Rights? And we're going to look actually at the Bill of Rights to gather ideas about the many purposes of the Bill of Rights, or what were the framers, particularly Madison, focused on protecting with the Bill of Rights. Okay, let's shrink that down. So the Bill of Rights refers to the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, so they're not technically part of the original document, but they were part of the negotiations when striking the compromises in the Constitution. So the Bill of Rights were something that Anti-Federalists wanted added to the Constitution. Anti-Federalists were concerned about a strong federal government that would violate the rights of individuals. So Anti-Federalists requested that this Bill of Rights be added as a way to protect American citizens from the federal government. And the Federalists, it's not to say that they didn't support basic liberties for people, but the Federalists had two arguments against a Bill of Rights. The first one was states already had declarations of rights in their state constitutions. So the federal government doesn't necessarily need a Bill of Rights if every state is protecting its citizens with those declarations of rights. And if states can't effectively do that, then how would the federal government be able to do that? The other argument against the Bill of Rights is by having a list of your rights and freedoms, that sort of limits you to just those. So for example, if when you walked into the classroom, I said, okay, everybody, welcome to my classroom. You have a right to sit down, and you have a right to read and write. Well, there's some people that would raise their hand and go, well, can I breathe? Can I laugh? Can I ask questions? And so by making a list, by enumerating your rights, that somehow limits your rights. And so Federalists said, you know, there's probably a bunch of rights that people should have that we can't think of and fit on this list. Well, anyhow, in order to get the necessary 9 states to agree to the Constitution, a compromise was struck between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists to add this Bill of Rights, these first 10 amendments, all ratified by 1791. And what we're going to see is that the wording in the Bill of Rights doesn't often say you have a right to this, you have this freedom, but rather, if you look at the language, it talks about what the government can't do. That your freedoms, your civil liberties, are protected when we limit the government. And you're going to see that right away in the First Amendment. So, what you'll do, and what we did in class, is you're going to have the Constitution that I've given you in 3 Amendments 1 through 3. I want you to staple those in on one page to the side, to the left side, so you can add things on the right. Then you'll have Amendments 4 through 6, same thing, staple them on another sheet of paper to the left side so you can take notes to the right. And Amendments 7 through 10. So staple that on another sheet in your spiral, leaving room to the side to add additional notes. So what I've put together is a guide for you as you try to interpret the Bill of Rights, because the language is a bit antiquated and also legalistic in its nature, so it can be hard for us to access. So what you'll do is you'll read the amendments, you'll read the First Amendment, sit on that, think on it, process it yourself. If you're in class, you'll work with a partner to discuss. Then I have a guide, which is on the website and you should have printed, and it tells you what to do for the First Amendment. So, for example, here it says the First Amendment protects 5 basic rights, and you're supposed to list them. So now go back, read through the amendment again. Can you find those 5 basic rights? If you can, jot them down next to the amendment right in your spiral. So you'll have the actual wording on one side, and then you'll have the translation for you to understand on the right. Now, if you're still struggling to follow the guide, to figure those things out, your textbook has the Bill of Rights in the back, starting at page 771. And so the actual wording is in one color, in this beige color, and then there's like a translation in blue on the margins of each page. So students in class looked at that for explanations of the amendments. You can download that. I have scanned in the textbook, those pages, so you also have that to click on. So when you're all done and you've filled out all the explanations for the amendments, you can quiz yourself. Also on the website is a handout that gives you various scenarios, and you are supposed to see how much you can recall which amendment would protect someone in this case. So I'll read the first one, for example. It says, American colonists were sometimes required to board British troops in their homes. It's quartering. This is no longer allowed. So your freedom from having soldiers quartered in your house like your base, that is protected by the Third Amendment. So you put down Third Amendment. And then I'll have the answer key up as well. After you've done it all, check your work. When you're finished with that, then write your summary for the notes.